Good morning, everybody, and welcome to TLC Live as every Wednesday at 11 más o menos. I'm Andrea Gomez, and my co-host is in his car on the way to very important event. Orlando, how are you? Good morning.
I'm good, Andrea. How are you this morning?
Good, good, good. So tell us where you going and where you been all these days, in a tour in Texas.
Well, parked at a Subway sandwich location south of the King Ranch off of Highway 77, and we're making our way down into Harlingen, Texas, into Brownsville. We stopped in Nueces County and met with actually, we have pictures of the fine Republican Latina leaders that we met in Nueces County, which, as you know, is Corpus Christi. So if Mark wants to put those two pictures up, we can. That was last night, and they were gracious enough to meet with us, and we had a great discussion about some ideas on how to increase the Latino participation in the election process in the state of Texas. And so, yeah, we jumped back in the car this morning, and now we're on our way to Harlingen and down into Brownsville. But in addition to that, Andrea, you know that we were also in Plano, Texas, where Leadership Latino had about 35 young conservative Latinos that came to our program to learn everything about how to become a precinct chair, how to become a campaign manager, how to become a press secretary, how to even become a candidate. And so we had a full day seminar, and actually, one of the ladies that was a presenter that you're looking at right now was Maida Flores, one of our graduates, who is now running for the 34th Congressional District in South Texas, and who incidentally we're on our way to go have lunch with her, and that's the vice chairman of the Dallas County Republican Party that you're seeing on the screen. So we had a very successful leadership Latino class. These young people are doing great things across the state of Texas. And of course, Andrea, you and I had the opportunity to go to the Lincoln Day dinner in Houston, which is the big celebration for the Harris County Republican Party. And we had a great time. And Andrea and I got to meet Governor Nome of South Dakota. And there's a fabulous picture of the governor and Andrea. So it's been a full week, Andrea, and I understand we also have a full program today. But before we get into the program, I just want to give you an update because I just got off the phone with in Austin with our state representatives in Austin. Andrea, as you know, Texas Latino Conservatives has been promoting Tejano Day in Texas. We have a concurrent resolution. It's HCR 67, House Concurrent Resolution number 67, and it
Wow.
had a hearing in the House of Representatives. We want to have a Tejano Day in Texas for the next 10 years. And we had a real interesting hearing, although, it was a brief hearing, but I think Mark has the video. So if he wants to roll it, this is the hearing on the resolution for declaring Tejano Day in Texas. So, Mark, if you have it, go with it.
I would certainly appreciate your favorable consideration of this resolution, and although I'm not a history major, I will certainly be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Members' questions? Representative Israel.
How did a non-Tejano find this bill?
This is a long-time pet project.
You just a history buff and I didn't know it?
Well, yes, I am a history nut. But it's a long-time project of a friend of mine from Houston named Orlando Sanchez. He had been the county treasurer. He'd been a Houston city councilman. And he's a dear family friend of Representative Christina Morales. And he said he didn't want to bother any important members with something like this. So did I have time to carry the bill?
Well, thanks for bringing it up. And I think there's a lot of your Tejano colleagues who would love to help you out.
Thank you. I would reserve the right to close,
questions?
Mr. Chairman.
I don't think we have any, and I don't see any witnesses. So is there anyone else who wishes to testify on for or against HCR 67? Seeing none, public testimony is now closed. Chair recognizes Representative Schofield to close on his resolution.
I know Mr. Sanchez would have dearly loved to have been here today. I hope that you will take this opportunity to honor some of the seminal leaders in the history of Texas. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I close.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So that was
Wow,
State
wow,
Representative
wow, wow.
Michael Schofield that
Congratulations to
we endorsed.
Texas and congratulations, Orlando.
Yeah, that was State Representative Michael Schofield. As you know, we endorsed him, and he carried the bill, and it's getting a lot of support both in the Senate and the House. I think we already have up to 8 co-sponsors in the House. But the interesting thing is, as you heard Michael Schofield's testimony when he laid out the bill to the committee, that he talked about our friend Cristina Morales. I have known the Morales family since Christina was in diapers, actually, and now she's a state representative. She's a Democrat from the second ward in Houston, but I've known their family for over 50 years. And so Cristina Morales is a co-sponsor, co-author of the bill, and we're delighted that she jumped in to help us. And incidentally, I think yesterday was her birthday, so we want to wish Cristina Morales, who's a Democrat, but again, this is a bipartisan effort led by Texas Latino conservatives to honor Tejanos in Texas. So that's my update. That's what I've been doing. We're on our way to Brownsville and Harlingen, and I'm going to introduce our very special guest today.
Yes, that's great, Orlando. Well, congratulations. And yeah, so we have two special guests today, and it's Roman Garcia. He is running, he's a very young conservative, and he's running for Kerrville City Council in place one. And also, we're going to have later on Jorge Galicia. He is from Venezuela, and he is seeking an asylum here in the U.S., but also he is an outreach fellow at the Fund for American Studies, and he is also leading a lot of speeches and talking about why we need to stay away from socialism. But we're going to start today our show with Roman Garcia, who is already connecting with us, and this is his picture and his website. And Roman Garcia is a very young conservative, and he's running for Kerrville City Council in place one. And we want to hear about him. We want to hear why he want to run for office and why he feels that he is conservative and that's the way to go. Roman, how are you? ¿Cómo estás?
Hi, Ms. Gomez. Está bien, gracias. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I'm just so excited to have this opportunity to run for office again. I actually did run for office last year. Our election for our city actually got postponed to November 3rd. Unfortunately, I didn't win that election, but seeing as we have an election every single year, I felt that it was a good opportunity for me to take advantage of it and continue the momentum that we started at our last election. So I'm really just getting involved. I got involved over 5 years ago. I really saw how it worked out the government process, and I want to bring back a true representation of the people of Kerrville to City Council. I am a conservative because I believe that it's the job of our government to help its citizens, but not at the cost of their liberties, and that we need to make sure that government operates in a way that listens to the people. And right now, Kerrville City Council could use a little help with that. And I'm excited to be here and share some more about my campaign with y'all.
So, Roman, tell us about Kerrville City. You know, I'm from Colombia. I've been in Texas, 20 plus years, but I don't know every part of Texas. Orlando knows much better the state. But tell us about Kerrville City. What is the population and what is the Latino population over there?
Yes, the population of Kerrville, Texas is about 25 to 27,000 people. We're a small rural city, and we are just northwest of San Antonio, about an hour away from there. So, and the population in Kerrville, I can't remember the last time I looked at the number, and so I can't give you an exact number on that, but we do have a really good demographic of Hispanic Latino culture in Kerrville. That's been something that I try to do from last campaign is really reach out to them as well and let them know they have a voice. It's their civic duty too to get involved in government because when we don't participate, things happen that we may not have known of. Um, and what I've seen with our Latino community in Kerrville, at least, is, and what has been reciprocated to me from them, is they don't feel that they have that voice. They don't feel that they have a representation on city council. As a Hispanic myself, I saw that as a great opportunity. In fact, I didn't really consider that or look at that as a reason why I wanted to run for council, but I realized it could benefit me and benefit them to make sure that they're represented too. That's been one of the biggest factors that I've been trying to encourage them, especially the young Latinos, the young Hispanics, conservatives, to get involved, to get active in our community.
Roman, this is Orlando. I don't know if you can hear me, but I want to talk to you a little bit about what you just mentioned. Um, let me explain to folks that part of what Texas Latino Conservatives does is, we scour the state of Texas and build coalitions with young conservatives like Roman. We feel that the way to build and to continue the conservative leadership in the state of Texas is to encourage and to motivate young folks like Roman to lend themselves to public service. And so, but one of the difficulties is, and the reason we do this is because, to use a baseball term, if Roman gets elected, or when Roman gets elected, he will have experience as a Kerrville City Council member. He may run for mayor. He may run for state representative. He may run for the Texas Senate. He may run statewide for, let's say, the Railroad Commission or some other position he feels qualified to run for. But in so us Texas Latino conservatives, in supporting people like Roman, we build the farm team. These are young folks that will have experience on the local school board, on the local community college, at the local city council level. And part of the challenge that Roman faces, which is a challenge that we face as conservatives in Texas, is that conservatives and Republicans are great about turning out for general elections. They get excited about voting for governor, they get excited about voting for president of the United States. But I will tell you, Andrea, that the most important elections are the local elections, because that's the government that affects you. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happens is, because conservatives don't participate in local elections, the liberals get very excited and they win sometimes in areas that are conservative. Now, let me give you a bit of the demographics in terms of voter turnout. Kerr County, which is where Roman is, which is
Mhm.
Kerrville is in Kerr County, Texas, is 75% conservative.
Mm.
Yes.
Let me repeat that, 75% conservative. In the city of Kerrville, there's enough conservatives to elect a conservative mayor, a conservative city council. And yet, because it's a May election, uh, a lot of conservatives aren't aware that this is an important election. So that's why we're getting involved. Not only do we think that Roman's an excellent candidate, at 19 years of age, this is his second bid for public office, but he's the future of conservative leadership in the state of Texas. So we're involved to ensure that conservatives in the city of Kerrville turn out. Now, having said that, uh, Roman, I understand that there's going to be a rally, a get out the vote rally in Kerrville on April 30th. Is that still on the books, and is that going to happen? And if so, can you tell us about it?
Yes, sir. That is still in the books and is still going to happen. What we're planning to do is host a Get Out to Vote rally. We have contacted our state Texas Republican Party chairman, Alan West, and he is actually in the process, or at least towards the end of this month, will be in the process of going to different cities, different locations within Texas, encouraging them to go vote. And so one of my constituents reached out to him, invited him, and asked him to come over to Kerrville to get the conservatives fired up and ready to vote. And so we are hosting a Get Out to Vote rally on April 30th, which is actually for the election on May 1st. And that's going to be approximately between 11 and 1. And that information will, of course, be shared out with everybody that we know, and we'll hopefully get that on social media and our websites as well. And so that's going to be a big thing. We're going to hopefully encourage and inspire a lot of conservatives to come out. We're going to encourage them. Please bring your friends, bring your family, your neighbors, anybody that you know. Get information on the candidates, get involved, know exactly where to go vote, what times. It's very important. And not only are we hosting a Get Out to Vote rally on the 30th, but every single day, or every single Saturday from now until the election on May 1st, we're going to be hosting basically a Get Out to Vote rally as well at our courthouse, the Kerr County Courthouse. We're going to be encouraging people to come out and meet the candidates. I will be a candidate that'll be there. You can hold up a sign near the road and wave at people, get them knowledgeable about the candidates that are running, and show that people are supporting them as well. So we're going to be doing that every Saturday from 10 a.m. to 12 at the Kerr County Courthouse. So people are more than welcome to come and meet me as a candidate and get more information on the election.
But also, you guys have an early voting, right?
We do have early voting, and that starts next week on Monday. It goes all the way from April 19th, that Monday, to the following Tuesday, the 27th. But it's only weekdays. So the Saturday and Sunday following next week, we will not have voting. And those times vary, but all that information is easily found on my website and on the Kerr County election website as well.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of early voting because you never know what can happen the day of the elections day. So it's very important. You can go and vote at anywhere at any time. Well, anytime with the time frame, but
Right.
very important that people go and vote in early voting. Roman, you're very young. I mean, 19 years old. My God. I was 19 years old. I never thought I was I didn't even know what I was gonna do for a living. But seeing you 19 years old, so concentrate and focus on what you want to do in life. What did drive you to, you were in high school, and what do you think, like, okay, let me run for office and let me be a voice for my community?
Yeah, it was it all started 5 years ago when I first joined uh, what was a board under the city council in Kerrville. It was called the Mayor's Youth Advisory Council, and I was appointed to that. And what really got me is, in order to be on that council, you have to get sworn in, and they had a formal ceremony for us at the city council meeting. We took our oath in front of a judge, in front of the audience, in front of city council, got to meet the city council members, and that was an awesome experience for me. And ever since I joined that council, the main goal of that council was to represent the youth and to advise the city council on issues facing them and what solutions that we can initiate to resolve that. So during my participation in that and my community service, I saw, okay, I love community service. That's what public service is. That's what my job on city council hopefully will be, is public service to the people. I love that part. And I love the part of law, order. I want to become an attorney eventually, and I love the structure of government and how it operates. And so I wanted to make sure that that structure, the constitutional structure that our founders created, coincides with my public servant heart, spirit. And so I wanted to, and I found that I could bring those two together and serve my community. That happened 5 years ago, and ever since then, I started continually going to city council meetings because I saw, oh, that's how that works. Well, I didn't know they make that decision for us. And in fact, my parents and some of my family and friends didn't know anything really about the city council or our local government. And I kind of encouraged them and helped them get involved in that as well. And so I thought that was a very good opportunity to not only get them involved, but I wanted to continue my involvement. And I thought, I can go ahead and do the exact same thing and help represent my community and my people on city council, regardless of what age. As long as you have the right mindset, the right spirit about it, and you understand what goes on, you do your homework, you do your research, and you look at things objectively, anybody can really serve on city council. It doesn't matter about past experience. It matters about what you're going to do on that council, how you're going to represent the people.
So, Roman, I want to congratulate you. We're not going to keep you very long because you probably ought to be out block walking, knocking doors, putting out signs, giving a speech, and not visiting with us. But we want to thank you. We also want to invite you to Houston. I've talked to some of the folks in your campaign. If there's any way you can come to Houston, we'd like to host a small fundraiser. Let me tell you what's going on. We will be attending, Texas Latino Conservatives will attend the Get Out the Vote rally to encourage voters in Kerrville to come out and vote in strong numbers. Additionally, I visited with my friends over at HRT. As you all know, HRT is another Hispanic political action committee and nonprofit organization. It stands for Hispanic Republicans of Texas. It's my understanding that they may participate as well. And I also reached out to our friends because, no conservative operation is worth its weight in salt unless the Texas Federation of Republican Women get involved. And so I've reached out to the Texas Federation of Republican Women, and they're going to put out the call for the Republican women in and around Kerr County to show up. So you and Chairman Webb and the rest of us may have a very exciting day. As I understand, it may be held at the Wyo Ranch Hotel.
That's what they're looking at right now. Yes, sir.
Okay, so we're going to post all that information on our website. Roman, thank you for joining us. Godspeed, and we'll see you soon, and we hope to see you in Houston.
Thank y'all so much for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Román, felicitaciones y pues todos a salir a votar en las votaciones anticipadas y por supuesto el 1 de mayo cuando son las elecciones para poder elegir el gobierno local y como dice Orlando, el gobierno local es el más importante, el gobierno federal es muy importante y nos ponemos muy emocionados para votar por presidente, pero definitivamente las votaciones de nuestro gobierno local son las que nos impactan todos los días a nosotros, nuestra familia, nuestro trabajo y nuestro diario vivir. Así que felicitaciones, Román, y nos vemos muy pronto.
Gracias.
All right. So thank you, Roman. And Andrea, I want to give a little bit of a program note. Quite a ways to go south. And so I know that I think we have Mr. Galicia that's going to come on the program, but I may have to jump off early, a few minutes early. So if I do, continue your interview, but let's go ahead and introduce, and I'm really excited about this next guest because as you know, Andrea, I lived in Caracas, Venezuela for almost 2 years.
Oh wow, yeah, you've been everywhere, Orlando. But yeah, so he's from Venezuela, es vecino de mi país, Colombia, y ahora está en Miami. Y él es Jorge Galicia, who's seeking right now asylum here in the United States, and he's running away for sure for that situation that they're living in Venezuela. But also he's been doing a lot of things because he's been talking around the country to young people to tell them and let them know how dangerous is socialism, as you know, because you're from Cuba. And of course, you guys have that in common. So welcome, Jorge. Bienvenido, Jorge Galicia. ¿Cómo estás?
Hey, hello guys. Thank you so much for the invitation.
No, gracias por tu tiempo. Cuéntanos un poco de ti, tell us a little bit about you. When did you got here to United States? You are in Miami right now, and what you have doing since then?
Yeah, sure. I arrived to the U.S. in the year 2018, October, and I lived my whole life in Venezuela, actually in Caracas, Venezuela. So I'm impressed that Orlando lived there for a couple of years. I want to know more about that if we can, but. I went into law school in Venezuela, and I was also a political activist when I was there, fighting against everything that's going on. Everything. The socialist regime basically took away all of our. We used to have a really prosperous, and that was destroyed thanks to the leadership of people like Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. And when I saw that scenario happening around me, and when I saw my own quality of life decreasing year after year because of the governmental decisions, well, I decided to get involved. And in the year 2014, I joined the student movement of my university, and I also joined a political party named Vente Venezuela, which is a classical liberal political party advocating for economic freedom, religious freedom, freedom of speech, every single value that makes it possible to live in a free and prosperous society. But unfortunately for me, well, that came with a high price because, the political police in Venezuela is always out there trying to locate opposition leaders, peaceful people just like me that are trying to do something to speak their mind against everything that's going on in Venezuela. So basically, in the year 2017, one of my best friends was captured, and they broke into his house in the middle of the night without a warrant, without any of legality or due process because of our involvement in the massive demonstrations that were taking place in Caracas in the year 2017. And well, after that, I basically needed to disappear really quick because I knew that the next in line in order to be captured was me, because he and I were doing exactly the same things and, at the same time and location. So if he was captured, it meant that the police was probably after me as well. So I needed to disappear. I was sent into some religious place in Venezuela. I cannot reveal a lot of information about that. I was totally isolated, no communications, with my family. No, I needed to turn off my cell phone, shut down all of my social media accounts. And well, it was a really life-changing situation for me. Yeah. And after that, well, I managed to, my friend was released from prison like 3 months later after those events. And thanks to that, I was able to finish my law degree in Venezuela. And after that, I applied to participate in a leadership program in Phoenix, Arizona. I was selected to be part of that. And basically, that's the reason I was able to leave Venezuela and come here in the first place. So that's kind of my a little background of my, a little, image of my story before coming here.
Well, Jorge, primero que todo es un gran placer tenerte en el programa, and it's a great pleasure to have you on the program. My story and your story is about the same. Of course, I was born in Havana, Cuba, a beautiful Caribbean island that was destroyed by the socialist, Marxist, Leninist, communists. And I fled and to Caracas, Venezuela. My father was a broadcaster. Just so you'll know, he was a broadcaster for el equipo, a baseball team called Los Tiburones de la Guaira. And but we, like you, sought political asylum in the United States in 1962, and I have been here ever since. Now, one thing I want to tell you, Jorge, because I want you to share this with the audience. Socialist, Marxist, communist governments repeat the same playbook over and over and over again, whether it's the Sandinistas in Nicaragua, whether they're the Castros in Cuba, Maduro or Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, or whether it's in Bolivia, or heaven forbid, what almost happened in Ecuador the other day, but thank God they elected a democratic, freedom-loving government. They do the same thing. And even in Mexico, AMLO is now rearranging the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. Same thing that Hugo Chavez did. They always go to the courts. And here's the thing in the United States, and I want you to talk about this. The technology platforms like Twitter, like Facebook that we're currently on, are squelching speech. And on top of that, the Biden administration proposed and has a bipartisan, quote unquote, because it's always bipartisan, commission to look at packing the Supreme Court of the United States. You and I have seen this before, have we not, Jorge? Tell us how they do it in Latin America so everybody watching understands the media is against us. The social media platforms are against us. Now they want to stack the Supreme Court because God knows American values are can't succeed in the Supreme Court. So tell us how we do it in Latin America so everybody watching understands.
Yeah, of course. I would say one of the main and the first objective of these populist and socialist regimes, whenever they take power, is to ensure that they are going to have total control of the institutionality of the country. We saw that in Venezuela. Hugo Chavez he did not only manage to control the whole Supreme Court, but he also managed to change and rewrite the constitution following a a mechanism that was not even written in the Venezuelan constitution. So we don't even know how our institution led something like that to happen. But I don't want to see the same happening here. And I know the Supreme Court has been the way it is here in the United States for decades, and it is a long-standing institution, and we cannot allow any political party to try to expand the number of judges for political reasons. That would be extremely dangerous, and that the political, the institutional instability that could bring is, I don't know. I really feel, I really fear the consequences of if we allow something like that to happen. And it really reminds me a lot of the kind of institutional control that Hugo Chavez brought into Venezuela. He basically destroyed the republic as we used to have, the republic we used to have in Venezuela, and to have his dictatorship. So that's and by the way, that's part of the job I'm currently doing with the Fund for American Studies. I just came from Texas, by the way. I went to Texas A&M in College Station, and I gave a little speech there about my life and how Venezuela was bankrupt because of these socialist ideas. My main point is not about probably not about court packing, which is of course is a huge concern right now. But I think my main concern that I always expose to people is the levels of spending here in America that I think are extremely high, and I see the same patterns if we compare Venezuela in of socialism and what we're seeing right now. We weren't able to compare to control the levels of spending, and now we're paying the consequences of that. So yeah, I see a lot of patterns of coincidences that I don't really want to be seeing between Venezuela and the U.S. because I left Venezuela for a reason, and now that I'm happy here, I don't want to have to leave again because, well, no, it's not
Well,
ideal.
Jorge, I wanna just say thank you. I'm gonna go because I still have quite a ways to go down to South Texas, down to Brownsville and Harlingen. But there's a saying in English that socialism works real well till you run out of other people's money, and you and I have experienced that. So God bless you, que Dios te bendiga. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos y le voy a entregar lo que queda del programa a Andrea para que tengan una conversación. Andrea, I'll see you next Wednesday, and we'll be on Facebook taking pictures down in Harlingen and Brownsville. And y'all have a great weekend. See you soon.
Perfect. Good luck, Orlando, and good job.
Gracias, Orlando. Que tengan un buen día.
Igualmente.
Well, Jorge, I'm impressed with your story. I'm impressed with everything that you're doing, and Orlando was talking about Ecuador, and we were talking about that before we came on the air. Definitely, Ecuador. It's setting an example, and I wish it's gonna stay like that. Because this is the first time for in 18 years that they elect somebody from the right or de la derecha, alguien conservador, away from socialism. And how do you see this happening? Because, when Hugo Chavez took Venezuela, we were seeing that in Bolivia, we're seeing that he was following that pattern in Ecuador, and, in Latin America start happening. And now we're seeing that finally Ecuador said, like, okay, enough is enough, and we're going to elect somebody else because we're tired of this. How do you see that happening in Latin America? I mean, you think it's another country that's going to follow that pattern? And in Colombia, we are in the limbo right now. It's a lot of talks about that, and I'm afraid about my country.
Yeah, that pattern that you are describing, I would say Venezuela played a huge role in promoting socialism across the region. Of course, Cuba as well. When Hugo Chavez took power in Venezuela, he enjoyed having a lot of money coming from our oil industry, and he managed to use that money to contribute a lot to different campaigns across the region. He contributed to Rafael Correa in Ecuador, Evo Morales in Bolivia, Kirchner in Argentina, even the Podemos in Spain is receive heavy funding from the Venezuelan oil industry. So now that Venezuela is basically bankrupt, we're seeing the consequences now. Though all of those populists and so movement that are having a lot of trouble to find resources for their campaigns. So I think because of the Venezuelan collapse, we're seeing a lot of other places being somehow liberated. So yes, I'm really happy about Ecuador, the electoral results that we just see there. However, I think we have to be careful with and manage the optimism, because I was extremely happy when Mauricio Macri was elected in Argentina. I think he and Lasso has probably similar profiles, but well, unfortunately, I don't think Mauricio Macri did a good job trying bringing reforms to help revitalize the Argentine economy. And now the left is back in Argentina. I don't really want to see the same in Ecuador. Lenin Moreno, even though he was elected, he really tried to bring some budget stability. He tried to do some reforms that were actually pointing in the right direction, but he was to do that because of social instability. So I don't know if it's going to be politically viable for Lasso to bring a lot of reforms. That Ecuador really needs a lot of reform. They have a lot of deficit problems, and their economy is in a really bad shape. But hey, who knows? I'm praying to God that Ecuador becomes a really nice place, and we have to follow that example here in America. All of us Latino people who well, I actually admire a lot my Venezuelan community, because I think now we understand the consequences of socialism. Now we became a strong GOP voter group here in Florida, and I'm really glad for it, because we know the consequences of following socialism. And of course, the Trump administration also gave a lot of support to the Venezuelan democratic cause. So we appreciate that. And now I think, at least from the Venezuelan point of view, we appreciate conservative ideas. And I think I want to see the same across the whole Latin American group spectrum.
Yeah, we have a big community from Venezuela also here in Texas, and especially near Houston. It's an area that is called Katy, and they call it Katiezuela because it's a lot of Venezuelans over there, and I know many of them, and they're pretty much agree with what you're saying. It's a lot to do, Jorge. It's a lot to do. And we need more people like you, young people that come and talk to and other young people, because how do you feel that is going on right now with the young generation? And they're not going to the conservative way, they're going to the other way. And that's what we're afraid.
Yeah, it is actually pretty terrifying. I have visited along with my other friend who is doing this project with the Fund for American Studying. Both of us, Andres Gilarte and I, have visited more than 60 campuses around the states. And well, I can say that I have seen a lot of support for really extremist and leftist ideas coming from these young students. And it is frankly, it is terrifying. And we as conservatives need to start advocating among these young groups, because they're going to be the majority in the future. And if we don't convince them on time that socialism is not the way, well, we're going to have some trouble in the future, right? But I think the way for us to do this is to acknowledge. We need to acknowledge the fact that many of the problems that these people claim to have are actually true, in my opinion. For example, I do believe that healthcare expenses here in America are expensive, that college tuition is expensive, but we need to ensure that they understand that these problems are not because of market forces and free market economics, but because of government interference in these fields, right? And we as conservatives need to start offering solutions to these problems that I actually believe that they exist in America, and we need to tackle those. But the idea that socialism is somehow going to improve all of these areas is just crazy. It has never worked. It will never work, and we need to ensure that people understand the actual dangers of socialism. Because I think even though America has problems, I mean every country has its problems. I think America is a beautiful place, and yeah. I love what I have here and what we have here, and I want to keep it that way.
This is the greatest country in the world. I came from Colombia 23 years ago, and I raised my kids here. I have my family here. I brought my parents here because definitely this is the country of the opportunities. and you can make your dreams come true here. Whatever you want to do, it's, that's why I love this country as much as I love my country. But this country gave me the opportunities. This country is, I've been raising my kids and giving my kids an opportunity better than if I would have my kids in Colombia. So that's why I love this country so much, and that's why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. And I think one of the biggest problems with this generation and all generations in general is the lack of education. It's not education in the schools. It's lack of education on civics and what is going on around the world. And, it's a lot of brainwash in the schools. And also the media is not helping.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another similarity I see between, the States and the United States and Venezuela, especially in the early years. Every single media outlet out there in Venezuela was actually advocating for more government expansion, for more socialism. They cheered when Hugo Chavez appeared and tried to, overtake the government by the use of force, and he became extremely popular among the Venezuelan political and cultural elite, and now of course we're paying the consequences well. And I don't know, but I feel we're seeing something like that probably happening among the mainstream media. They are always advocating for these crazy ideas. They don't hold accountable any of their leaders. It's really terrifying in my opinion. But yeah, that's why I really appreciate the job that people like you do, because these kind of alternative platforms really give a voice to people that really need to be heard, and to give the cultural fight, because that's what we need to give right now.
And also, parents have a big responsibility. I'm a mother and I have my kids here, and many of people from Latin America are coming here and they're doing the same thing. They're establishing their family here. But we need to teach our kids our roots and why we left our countries, and why we cannot repeat that pattern in this country, because they are exposed to different things in this country, but we need to teach them our roots. So we have a big responsibility as a parent.
Yeah, of course. Many of my beliefs, came from because of my mother and my dad, the teachings that they gave me during my childhood. They told me the importance of private property, the importance of saving money, not being crazy with my finances. Those kind of lessons that are extremely important to give, and I think parents should play a huge role in that. But I sometimes I feel like, I don't know if many people around our community have learned the lesson of why we left our countries. I mean, many of us left because, of course, our governments were not working for us, because they were, applying a lot of socialist and populist doctrines, and many of them come here and try to for the same. That doesn't seem to be really smart. I think, and we're seeing the same probably from people coming from California, right? We might have think that they have learned their lesson, but they move across states and they keep voting Democrats. So we really need to educate our society on the dangers of socialism and statism.
You touch a very important topic. I was coming to that. Just we're seeing it here in United States, inside of United States. We've seen people from California and states like New York. They're leaving those states and coming to states like Florida and Texas, but they're not coming and accommodate themselves of the situation in that state, which is Florida or Texas. They're just bringing the things that they were living over there in California and New York, and I that's what I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess they fail to see the connection between the public policies they support and the consequences that they are actually suffering, because that otherwise they would not be moving. But that's why we need to keep promoting the ideas of liberty, conservatism. Explaining why high taxation is problematic, explaining why government interference in the economy is problematic. I mean, we need to do a lot of education, and I think the work is extremely hard, because what I have seen, even the schools at the at the lower level, they are promoting liberal ideas to kids. I think the task for us is extremely hard, but I trust in God that He's going to help us to bring education to those people that need to hear the most.
So, what we can do to help you to help? Tell us about the organization that you're representing right now. What are you doing, and what we can tell people to help you guys to help?
Sure. Well, right now I'm working with the Fund for American Studies. We launched this project like Venezuela project probably a year and a half ago, and me and another friend basically we are traveling to anywhere wherever people want to hear us. So basically, people invite us to anywhere within the United States, and we go there and we basically share our story, and our experience with Venezuelan socialism, and we explain how Venezuela went from being a really nice and beautiful and rich country to and to become the mess it is today, with millions of people fleeing the country like me to seek refuge in other latitudes. So we basically travel and give the story. So the only thing you need to do to host me is find a space for me to talk. Some screen projector to share my little presentation, and get me an audience, and I'll be happy, and my friend will be happy to travel wherever I get. As I just told you, I went to our main focus is our university, of course. We visit campuses from following invitations from Turning Point USA group or Young America's Foundation groups or these young conservative groups.